Are you ready to learn what are the best ways that you can work with your client as a virtual assistant? If this is your first time on my channel, my name is Lai Lacaba. I run a virtual assistant agency in the Philippines, 2XU, and I post videos every Sunday and Thursday on how to work from home and how to have a business from home. So make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my videos. Now, when it comes to working with your clients as a virtual assistant, there's a lot of different things that you want to keep in mind so then you can show up in the best way. Now, I have done a video already on how to manage your client, how to do that, but I want to go over what are the best practices that you can keep in mind so you can work with your client for the long term. First one is to listen actively. Now, I heard this in so many videos, so many books, so I'm not really sure where the original came from, but there's two different types of listening. One is you are listening to actually just listen, or you're listening to reply. And you want to keep in mind that when you are going back and forth with your client is you're listening to capture. You want to listen to capture the things that they are saying to later on, if you have questions, you can definitely write them down, but don't just listen to reply. Actively listen to the things that they are saying, ask questions again later, but you can start capturing the thoughts, the ideas, so that it's all in one place and you guys don't have that miscommunication back and forth. Because when you just listen to reply, you're holding your question at the back of your head instead of being able to actually listen to them. The reason why this is one of the top tips that I'm putting in this video is one of the reasons a lot of relationships basically between a client and a virtual assistant fail is because none of them really listen to each other. So when you are the model, you're showing like, hey, I want to actively listen. This will free up your client's brain to like, oh, okay, so she's listened to me. Now I'm going to be focusing on the next thing or what they have to say. So this frees up their brain like, okay, I've been listened to. Things that I need to get done is actually written down. Now to whatever it is that they need. So it frees up both of your guys' span, your brain, your energy as well. That doesn't have to be spent going back and forth because you started by active listening. And the next thing I recommend when it comes to working with your client is having regular check-ins. Now in 2XU, we have two types of check-ins usually. One is a daily check-in, and this is important in your first 90 days as you are onboarding your client. And it basically covers three things. How are they? Just kind of back and forth, how both of you are. Second is, what are your top three priorities for the day? You can also go over what should be their top three priorities for the day if they don't know it yet. But usually at that beginning part, your client is usually leading. It's like, oh, these are projects and things that we're working on. So then you have that clarity. Again, both of you know what are the things that are supposed to be worked on. And then the last part of that is just any bottlenecks. Is there anything for you that's bothering you that might stop you from doing the thing that you're supposed to be doing? And the second type of check-in that we have in 2XU is a weekly agenda meeting. This sets up the whole week of what are the things that you're hoping to make sure that gets done. And also for your client, just asking like, hey, what are the top projects that we want to move forward to in this week? We also add a little bit of retrospective, like, hey, these were the things that were finished, because as much as you guys do your daily check-ins, sometimes there's just a lot of things for your client to work on, to remember. So just having a little bit of that, hey, this is what happened last week, this is what we're doing this week, and these are things that I need from you, again, makes the workflow a little bit easier because you guys are on the same page. 3 is be proactive. Now, what I mean by proactive is if you see something wrong or something that can be done better, go ahead and take action towards it. When you're just letting to like, oh, I'll just wait for my client to say something, or they haven't given me this. If you're scared of not having the authority to change something, ask for that. Ask for permission of like, hey, I saw this one thing, can I go ahead and change it? Because then in the future, you know what your own limits and boundaries are of things that you can just take charge and do. And the things that just honestly makes your life easier, makes your client's life easier. When you're not proactive, you're kind of just letting things sit. You're kind of just creating your own bottleneck. So when you are more just basically taking initiative on what should be done next, you are able to clear the way, clear the path, make your life easier, make your client's life easier. And again, it's just all about knowing what your own boundaries are so you can make decisions moving forward. Next is just be dependable. Being dependable isn't always about being consistent. It's by being there when it is needed. So it also doesn't mean that you cross your own boundaries. You're there on a weekend or on a holiday or when you're supposed to be off just because you want to be dependable. That's not what it means. Being dependable is that you constantly show up for them, of course, within the limits. You don't want to overexert yourself. You don't want to work on times when you already said you're not going to be working, unless of course it's an emergency of some sort. Again, knowing your boundaries, but being able to show up constantly where they know that, hey, this person has got it. They understand what they're supposed to be doing. And if you can't show up in the way where you are going to be dependable, ask for context. Ask for what are the ways that I can show up for you, asking this to your client, so then you are able to have that clarity on what their expectations are. Next is be flexible. Businesses can change all the time. In 2XU, we have evolved so much in the last couple of years that it's honestly almost unrecognizable from where we started. And that's usually just the case for an ever-evolving company. So as a virtual assistant, you want to make sure that you are flexible enough for the changes, because it could be that, tomorrow your client creates a whole new product that takes off and everything else that you guys were doing previously doesn't matter anymore. So having the base foundational skills to be able to make that shift, to be able to see like, hey, okay, this is, what we're taking from the old things, these are what we've learned, and now we're taking it to the new things. Having that skill is going to help you so much, especially if you're planning to working with different clients. Having that flexibility, having that point of view of like, hey, just because, this plan didn't work out doesn't mean everything failed. It's just now to the next plan, to the next thing. Next is thinking of ways that you can provide value. What I mean by this is, yes, you can stick to just doing your day-to-day, but is it actually adding value in some way? A lot of people wonder, hey, why am I not getting paid more? Why can't I ask for a raise? Why keep getting rejected for this? The thing is, you might just still be doing the thing that you're paid for. Now, this is something that I've advised with people. If you are asking for a raise or a promotion or something bigger in your company, you have to raise your responsibilities to some point, or you might be giving value beyond what was expected from you. I always recommend that you talk to your boss of like, hey, I think I'm being able to give A, B, and C, so then you can get the raise, the promotion, the next level thing. Don't just expect your boss to just notice that you're giving more value. Then ask, talk to them about it, communicate, and then seek the different ways that you can give value, so then you can get value back or you can learn something new. Next is to keep in mind to maintain confidentiality. When you're working one-on-one with a founder, there's going to be a lot of things that not everyone in the company that you're working with needs to see or needs to know. There's always going to be things that are in flex, that are in motion, decisions that might not be final. You just saw it in their email and you're like, oh, this person probably should know. No, that is confidential. These are things that you keep confidential until your boss says it's okay to share. There's been a lot of crises and misunderstood things because, things were shared that they weren't supposed to be shared. Keep it confidential. This is part of building trust with your client, is you need to know how to keep things confidential so they can trust you and be able to, again, free themselves up and have that relief of like, okay, someone else has this. I don't have to worry about privacy things because they know their own responsibilities and their limits. So as much as possible, don't tell other people things that you probably have seen in communication things unless, your boss is taking action towards it in some way, because you might never know, you might be barreling towards a misunderstanding just because you saw different pieces of a puzzle. Next is, as you are building that trust, basically, is it's important to build rapport. There's a very fine line when you are someone's personal assistant, because you know a lot of their personal life. They know about your personal life, what's going on with you, depending on that, how that relationship is built. But having that back and forth is really good because you're able to know when to ask for help, and they can depend that if you are stuck on something, you will ask for help. Because honestly, as a boss, it's really scary when someone has been stuck on a thing for 5 weeks, as an example, and it would just took one conversation with you to be able to fix things. So building that relationship, building that rapport is really important when it comes to working with your boss, because then it gives you both that relief that, hey, if there's anything needed, we can just talk about it. Next is trying to see what are the ways they can go above and beyond. Now, this kind of coincides with being able to provide value, but what I mean by above and beyond is like, what are different ways that you can improve a system or a task or a way that you're doing something in just a better way where it can be easier or faster the next time? What are the ways that you can challenge yourself so the next time that you do this, it can be something that can even be skipped, or something that a tool can do, or something that be just easier overall? There's always different ways in what you're doing in the everyday that you can just elevate it to a different level, that you learn new skill, you challenge yourself, you see how it could be done better. And honestly, in the long run, you're the one who takes advantage of this the most, because you're the one learning, you're the one growing yourself in some way. Speaking of, go ahead and explore tools. Look at different ways that you can find digital tools or physical tools that will make your life easier. Remember, this is not a sprint. This is a marathon. This is a long-term game that you're playing. So finding tools that will help you, again, make your life easier, make things go faster, make things more efficient, it's just going to help you just have less stress. And it's just a really good practice to see what are the tools they're using now, what are the ways that you can make it better, or is it a tool that's better that makes it easier, and just actually learning to master it. There's always going to be new things that'll be coming in when it comes to tools, but it really takes you to that next level when you're able to master it, be an expert in it, and just use it more efficiently. Next, and this is a really important tip, is take notes. Just take notes about almost everything. One of the magical things that my own assistant has showed me is that there's a transcription tool that you can use that when she uploads a meeting of mine into YouTube, she can just grab. So then anytime that I say, hey, who was that person that I had a meeting with like 2 weeks ago who talked about this business, she can easily go through her notes and find the information that I'm looking for. A lot of the things, again, in the business can be very fast paced. So being able to take really good notes, learning how to use tools like Notion to be able to file notes away so you can easily find them, it's just going to make your life a lot easier. So as much as possible, try to find a note-taking app or tool that works for you. So then again, anytime things come up, you can easily search for them. And lastly, and this is one of the biggest ways that you can work with your client, is to go ahead and just grow yourself. Now, what I mean by this is find different habits, different things you can learn from, different skills that you can get better at or learn something new so that you can keep showing up. Whenever someone stops growing or is not interested in growing themselves at all, this is usually where a lot of people don't last long being a virtual assistant, because when you're a virtual assistant, you should always be looking at, hey, what's next? What's getting better? What's something that I can learn today? So then you can have that constant growth within yourself so you can keep showing up for yourself, for your clients, and most importantly for your goal. Now, if you guys like this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button right there and comment below what are your tips on how to work best with a client. I would love to know. And if you still haven't yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my videos every Sunday and Thursday on how to work from home and how to have a business from home, which you guys can check out those two playlists right here and the latest video right here. I hope you guys have an awesome day. Remember that small steps matters, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.